Alright, so starting with Unit 1, Bitcoin Economics, we are going to explore this question of what is money and what would make a better money than the money that we use today. So, as part of this, we have to start and think a little more deeply about what money is and what would make a better money. And so we'll start with Vijay Boyapati's article, The Bullish Case for Bitcoin. And so as part of this, we have to think about the different ways money arose. Now, historically, it's true that money might have been dictated from on high by the king or the government, but that's not necessarily the only way it can arise, and we can view it more like money can actually arise in a more emergent, spontaneous, bottom-up way, that there was no formal agreement, and yet people, through their own interactions and trade, had an advantage in selecting a money that was more marketable and more saleable. And that is the point that Carl Menger makes. And as you read the essay by Vijay Boyapati, you'll start to see some of those points as well show through in that. And so it essentially comes back to that idea of what's the most marketable or most saleable commodity. And so in Vijay's article, we compare Bitcoin's monetary characteristics of gold, of fiat money, such as the US dollar, the pound, the euro, the yen, against Bitcoin. And we look at it on certain characteristics, such as how scarce is it. Now, obviously, Bitcoin wins on that point. It's got a 21 million scarce limit. And there are some other characteristics that we can look at, things like how divisible is it? How verifiable is it? And we can also consider that Bitcoin is a way to transfer our value through time and space. Right? So put in simple terms, you could think of it like gold helped people transfer their value through time, but not so easily through space. And fiat was not good at transferring value through time because it's being constantly inflated. However, it was useful in the sense of being transferable through space. And in some ways, Bitcoin meshes and takes the best of both worlds by being transferable through time and also being transferable through space by being an internet money, but also being strictly limited, which was not possible before. So we're also going to explore some of the arguments around deflation. So if you may have seen in the mainstream press, they might typically argue that deflation is bad, we are seeing a credit collapse, and it's important to pick apart these arguments and understand at a more deeper level what's going on here, because we can understand that there are actually beneficial forces of deflation also. These are known as growth deflation. And so in some of the materials in this unit, you'll discover some of these points. We'll also explore this question of monetary intervention by the government. So it was not the case that the world arrived at this fiat money standard through voluntary choice. Rather, it was that governments intervened into the market for money and banking and pushed it along into a certain pathway. So some of the material will reflect that also. And lastly, in this unit, we'll also cover energy usage. So an article by my friend Dan Held, Proof of Work is Efficient. And so in this article, Dan talks about what is securing Bitcoin and how energy usage is actually what enables us to flourish and to use human technology. And that ultimately, although some might superficially look at Bitcoin and think that this energy usage is not justified, when in reality, Bitcoin's energy usage is demanded on the market. And so as you read that article, you'll get a sense for why and how Bitcoin uses energy to, in a sense, prove its security. So with that said, let's get started with the material.